Howdy folks. Welcome to Telltale. Today in this channel, we'll be sharing some real and raw stories about relationships and more. Stick around to hear how they made it through. Or if they did. Without further ado, let's get into some tales together. This first story is titled, Today, I effed up by trying to add novelty lobster oven mitts to my wedding registry. Now I'm rethinking things. By username CringeCoop. Before we get into the story, please be warned that there are mentions of racism, animal neglect, and anxiety disorder. You can skip the story or use the timestamps given if you want. Oh Lord. I'm male 24, met my fiancée, female 26, in college about 6 years ago. We were instant sweethearts who bonded over both feeling out of place at the fancy California state school we ended up at. Things have been going decently well for years. I love her very, very much. My fiancée has always had some unique quirks, but she has a diagnosed anxiety disorder and is from rural Idaho, so I maybe give her the benefit of the doubt a little bit too often. Something I have been silently aware of is the fact that my fiancée has always been a little weird around black people. I am white, and so is she. However, I was adopted into a black family when I was little, so my whole extended family is black. My best friend, Tim, is also black. We grew up in the same city and were roommates the first 2 years of college. My fiancée has never liked Tim, despite him being my childhood best friend and someone who is clearly important to me. She has always said that Tim is too loud or rude to her, or that she doesn't like the way he smells. She has always tried to get me to hang out with other, white, friends over Tim. She even suggested I have her best friend's boyfriend as my best man over Tim. At the time, all of these things registered as weird, of course. But as I said, she is a very naturally quirky woman who does strange things sometimes. I told her that I still planned on having Tim as my best man, and that was that. Flash forward to today, and wedding planning has been going great. My 3 sisters, along with my fiancé's best friend, are going to be bridesmaids, and my wife is supposed to pick out and order bridesmaid dresses by the end of next week. We've been having a ton of fun building our wedding registry. We live in a nice house but are working on remodeling the kitchen, so most of our registry is kitchen stuff. Earlier today, I saw an ad for some hilarious but tasteful lobster oven mitts, and I grabbed my fiancé's laptop to add them to our wedding registry. To my absolute horror, when I opened her computer, the browser was open to a search along the lines of colors that make black women look ugly. I looked through her search history. What colors wash out dark skin? Worst bridesmaids dresses for dark-skinned women. Literally dozens of searches across these lines. I closed her laptop and put it back. But I feel like I have to bring it up after she gets home this afternoon. I know it's her big day, but this is seriously raising some red flags. I feel like I'm going to throw up, but maybe I'm reading too far into things? Too long, didn't read. Today, I effed up by trying to add something to my wedding registry and was met with my fiancé's racially charged search history. Edit. It's been a hectic few hours, but there's a few updates. I called my oldest sister, who I'm closest with, to try and get a read on this shit after reading the comments. I hadn't even considered that maybe she was trying to be helpful in some sort of backward way by finding a flattering color or something, but really some of the wording of these searches feels really racially charged, so I doubt it's that. My sisters have always had much better interactions with my fiancé than Tim. Honestly, I think that's why it took me so long for all of the racial weirdness to sit in. My sister was kind of shocked but mainly laughing. She's never had an explicitly bad interaction with my fiancé and never got the racist vibe, her words, from her, but has always thought she was super weird, like maybe the Zodiac killer. But here's the thing. When I was talking to my sister, she started cracking up and told me that my fiancé had sent her pictures of the bridesmaids' dresses she was thinking of last night when she was searching all of this shit. The nastiest, most washed out, beige-yellow dress I have ever seen. I think my sisters are all beautiful women, and they would probably look just fine in these dresses, but the fact that my fiancé had chosen them out of some weird racially charged evilness makes this all feel really sour. I told my fiancé I'm going to Tim's tonight for a beer, which I am. I want his perspective because I feel like she's the most explicit when talking to him, and maybe there's some things I don't know about. I feel like I've been a shitty best friend if all this time I've been enabling her racist behavior and excusing it as her just being a weird person. Nothing is off officially yet, but I do feel like this has really opened my eyes and made me aware of some traits in my fiancé that I feel like I was just too stupid to see. Edit 2. Talk to Tim. Tim has really changed my mind about a lot of this. He ran to the corner store to buy me a pack of my favorite smokes and really helped me calm down. I was flipping my shit when I went over there. He's like the brother I never had. He agrees that there's been a few times where she's made some unsavory comments, but he denies there ever being a time that has made him really uncomfortable outside of some off-color jokes. He's known my fiancée as long as I have, so he kind of gets the cards on the table. She can really work herself up and get paranoid, and maybe she was having an irrational moment when picking out the dresses. He said he had no idea that my fiancée even had a problem with him, which honestly kind of broke my heart. Tim's a great guy. I am really hoping we can work this out. I'm going to have a real conversation with her when she gets home this evening. I'm going to try to come at this completely honestly and let her explain herself before I jump to conclusions and assume my girl is in the clan or something. Edit 3. Everything's off. It ended with us getting in a screaming match, and her telling me to fuck off if I'd rather suck that N-word as person than be with her. I feel like I'm dreaming. Edit 4. It's been a weird big day. A lot of people have been asking for updates, so here it goes. I ended up in a pretty bad spot after everything happened. I've spent the last 6 years not really being a person. She really relied on me to be her constant mental stability. Once it was officially called off, I just felt really scared. It felt like I had hit my head and didn't know who I was. I was convinced that the solution to feeling like this was to smoke, but Tim talked me down, and I ended up smoking some bud and taking some shrooms. We went and saw Trolls at the movie theater to keep me from getting too in my head. I wouldn't recommend coping with substances the way I do, but the absurdity of the last 24 hours required a factory reset. I'm doing much better now. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. There aren't many updates there. The house is in her name. My dog's paperwork is in her name, and that stings the most. She handled a lot of the financial stuff, and honestly, it's going to be a nightmare to get everything settled. I'm having a lot of trouble posting updates without Reddit nuking them as spam because I'm usually a Reddit lurker LOL. So if anyone has any advice there, I'd appreciate it. I don't know how many communities this post has circulated to, so if there's a common thread of questions, I can try to answer them. Now let's read some relevant comments made by Opie. When questioned on how he was adopted into a black family, Opie says, "The adoption industry is effed, but my specific situation wasn't like random black couple applies for a baby and gets a white baby. These were my godparents getting awarded custody since there was no other immediate family to take me in when my birth parents were out of the picture." Not the point of the post, but still. When questioned on how he missed the racism all this time, Opie says, "I've touched on this a little bit in other replies, but this is getting a super embarrassing amount of attention, so I don't blame you if you aren't able to dig around to look for it. My fiancé has always been really nice to my sisters and my parents, at least to their faces. I think seeing the woman I assumed to be my future wife acting like a family with my sisters made me not think very hard about her interactions with Tim. He's a big personality, so I honestly just thought she didn't like him, but obviously I'm rethinking this now. I think being around her and enabling her for so many years made me too uncomfortable to even think that someone I love could have been thinking these things. It's hard to confront." Opie added this comment too. "What I will say is that she's never had any explicit issues with my sisters to their faces. She was happy to include them in her bridal party and goes on girls' trips with my 2 younger sisters almost every month. I think her being nice to my family made me blind to the fact that the shit she was saying about Tim was likely racially charged. Tim is a really nice guy who doesn't have it in him to make a big fuss about himself. I think he knows I really like her, so he's able to laugh it off most of the time. But he's my best friend, so we're going to talk about it." Update 1. I hate Reddit. I usually don't use it, but some crazy shit was going down today, and I felt like I needed to put it somewhere. My relationship of 6 years ended on an extremely sudden and uncomfortable note, and I can't stop myself from just live blogging this terrible day and reading the terrible stuff people are saying about me over and over and over again. I feel like I'm going crazy. I've never been hit by a woman before. I didn't hit back. I'll be okay. I've got a pack of my favorite smokes, and I'm going to pick up some beers on the way to the motel I'm staying at tonight. Update 2. Basically, everything was in my ex's name because she was really numbers-oriented and handled most of the money stuff. I've surrendered to the fate of not getting the house or my truck back, but I'm really hoping there is some way I can get my dogs back. Her name is on their adoption paperwork, but I have been paying for their vet bills the last 3 years, and the vet has me in their file. My ex doesn't take care of the dogs at all and probably plans on selling them. She just doesn't want me to have them. Okay, that ended on a low note. I'm truly sorry to hear about the challenging situation you're going through. It sounds incredibly difficult, and the emotional toll must be overwhelming. It's important to acknowledge your feelings and give yourself the time and space you need to process everything. Take care of yourself, OP, and remember that healing is a gradual process. Let's read some comments before we jump into the next story. One user says, "So racist and spiteful. Sounds like OP dodged a bullet. I hope he gets his dogs back." Another says, "I can't believe somehow novelty lobster oven mitts leads to uncovering racism, hate, and a precedent for domestic violence. This is literally the biggest bullet dodged, and it was all because OP wanted to be goofy." Conclusion? Be goofy. It'll save your life. Cringe is dead, and we should be all for it. And another, wow. Looking up ways to make his sisters as unflattering as possible. That's a problem. I hope there is another update, that at least he has the dogs back, and them being okay. Alright, on to the next story. This one's titled, "Am I Wrong for Not Wanting to Pay for My Sister's Medical Bills?" By username C category 5313. This story contains mentions of PPD and death of a child, so be warned and use the timestamps if you want. My parents had me at 16. They were both in high school. After I was born, my father dropped out to work full-time and take care of me, so my biological mother could stay in school. Eventually, after finishing high school, she realized that motherhood wasn't for her and left my dad and me. I was 2, so I don't really remember her being around. After that, my father worked 3 times as hard to provide for me. He also met a nice woman whom he later married when I was 7. I consider her my mom. I'll call her my stepmother to avoid confusion. My biological mother didn't contribute in any way, not even financially. In fact, the last time she contacted me before now was on my 3rd birthday, which was just a quick happy birthday card through the mail. I never had ill feelings towards her decision because I had my dad, mom, and brother who filled the emptiness she left. My parents have never said anything negative about her. Her leaving me was not something I thought about every day, so you can imagine my confusion when she reached out on social media to talk. I thought about it for days before I agreed. We met in a restaurant for the first time in 25 years. It was awkward small talk at the beginning before we delved into why she left. My biological mother teared up while explaining why. She suffered from postpartum depression and felt trapped by the constant cycle, so she felt compelled to leave. She explained why she reached out and made it clear that she didn't leave because of me. Of course, I sympathized with her, as I saw my stepmom go through postpartum depression with my brother and saw how much it affected her. We met a couple more times before I was invited to meet her new family. She had a husband and also had 3 children, 13-year-old female, 11-year-old male, and 7-year-old female. After weeks of this, I had my most recent meetup with my biological mother. She looked distressed while greeting me, so I asked if anything happened. She then explained to me in a quick response that her oldest daughter, 13-year-old female, has health issues. I won't say what due to how sensitive it is. She explained she needs $25,000 for medication and has accumulated medical bills of $20,000. She asked if I could pay it off. For context, after graduating and receiving my postgraduate diploma, I landed my dream job that earned a good sum of money. I'm certain she may have heard about where my job was from somewhere and saw it as an opportunity. She gave me time to think about it. It didn't take long for me to say no to it. I felt used and exploited. She never wanted to meet me. She just wanted money from the child she left to help the other child that she loves. After giving her my response, which wasn't much, just a simple no, I don't feel comfortable with that, through text, I was soon bombarded with text messages from her husband telling me what a nasty piece of work I was. Followed by more texts from my biological mother about how I'm so cruel for not helping out my sister due to my grudge against her. And then, to top it all off, I was getting some messages from family members from her side of the family questioning why I'm being so difficult. So, am I really terrible for not paying for my half-sister's medication and medical bills? Let's move on to the update. Hey everyone. Thanks for the feedback and support. I just wanted to answer some questions and provide some clarity. I've learned more about what was happening in my biological mom's family. First of all, I questioned why she had 3 more children despite her postpartum depression. It turns out that she and her husband found out early on about the severity of their first daughter's illness. They had 2 additional children, 11-year-old male and 7-year-old female, as savior siblings for their oldest daughter's medical treatment. Neither of them were matches. I've currently blocked her and her husband. I didn't go into this expecting to reconnect with my biological mom. That wasn't the plan. I already have a mom and I didn't need another one. I just wanted to give her a chance to explain herself. I never wanted a mother-daughter bond, just to be cordial or friendly. My family supported me in meeting my biological parent, and I didn't blindside them. I'm happy with my own family and don't need her to complete it. It's not her leaving that bothers me, it's her current actions. But even through that all, I will sympathize with her only on the basis that she suffered with postpartum depression. When my biological mom left, my grandparents and biological aunt stood by my dad. They raised me alongside my parents. They say she's always been mentally unstable and manipulative. I feel bad for my half-sister, but I can't give her the money. Sometimes I wish I had ignored my biological mom from the beginning. Also, I blocked the strangers calling my phone a while back. Just forgot to add that in. Update 2. Hello everyone. Again, I thought I wouldn't have to update this, and it would end after my first update. However, a lot has happened since then. Exactly a month after I posted my first write-in, my biological mom's oldest daughter got really sick. I found out through relatives. By the time I could process that she was very ill, she passed away. I felt a lot of guilt for a while, to be honest. After her funeral, which I didn't attend, my biological mom's husband wanted to speak to me. This was relayed to me through social media. I said no at first, but he said he just wanted to clear the air. He explained to me that it really wasn't my fault, and that he's certain she would have passed regardless. He and his wife were just very desperate and grasping at straws. Weeks passed, and biological mom's husband couldn't handle it anymore and left. Biological mom had a breakdown. This left their 2 remaining children vulnerable. So, it was court-ordered for my grandparents to take them in temporarily until they figure out a place to put them. I visited them once since. I know it's terrible for me to say, but it's kind of uncomfortable for me to be around them. I barely know them, and I feel guilt and responsibility for what happened to their sister. I'm truly sorry to hear about the difficult emotions you're experiencing. It's evident that you're going through a complex situation, and your feelings of guilt and discomfort are valid. It's important to acknowledge the complexity of your emotions and give yourself the time and space you need to process everything. It's okay to seek support from friends, family, or even professionals who can provide guidance and understanding. Taking care of your own well-being is crucial during times like these, so be sure to prioritize self-care and allow yourself the grace to navigate through these emotions. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning into our stories today. If you found it engaging or have thoughts to share, drop a comment below. Your feedback means the world to us. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content, and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, take care.